My name is Jessica Barclay, a current Yemi finalist and the host of the Pageantland podcast and founder of Pageantland. And today I'm going to be talking about the 100th episode of the Pageantland podcast.
Welcome to Pageantland, the UK's premier podcast for all things pageantry, with your host Jessica Barclay. Here you'll find guest experts, past, present and future queens, plus my own personal insights into what it's like to follow your pageantry dreams. So whether you're hitting the stage for the first time, looking to up your game, or even after some inspiration to follow your own dreams, I hope you will find something here for you. I'll ask the questions you're too embarrassed to and get real about the highs and lows of pageantry. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a share on social and pop me a review on iTunes. Now strap on those heels and let's get into it because we have a lot to cover.
So excited to be part of this as well with you. Oh my God. How have you, like, from 1 to 100, what's been the biggest sort of jump out milestones for you so far?
Oh, crikey, you're going to hit me. You just told me that there were going to be no hit me questions, like throw me questions. There's been some, the response, I think some of the best things has been the responses from people I've contacted to be interviewed on it and how enthusiastic and excited people were to be a part of it. From like someone that's just a new contestant level. I think one of the first interviews I did, it might have even been the actual first interview, was someone that had never done pageantry, and they were so like touched to be asked to do it, and that was amazing. Right up to obviously we've had big guns like yourself and Harriet, Holly from Galaxy has been on. Like it's just been like an amazing broad spectrum of people. And then there's also the people that have come up to me and said, I wouldn't have enjoyed my pageant as much if it wasn't for your podcast. And that means like the absolute world, because we can't all win. As nice as it would be to hear people say, oh, I won because of your podcast, and maybe one day I will. That's not why I do it. I do it for the majority. And when people say, yeah, I wouldn't have enjoyed my pageant as much without you, that's like,
oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I know, I totally get that. Well, in case anyone's lived under a rock, I'm Sarah Lane, or known by most people as Mama Lane, Harriet Lane's mum. But I want to kind of throw it all the way back to, I think it was 2014 when we first met. Was it 2014 or 2013?
I started competing in 2014 and the first competition was 2015, but it was like right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, it must have been, yeah, because that's right, because she won in 2015 for Miss Teen GB. Correct. So going back to then, so let's kind of share the journey from that point. We met, I remember, I can even tell you what I had on actually at that moment, and you came over and tapped me on the shoulder and asked me, am I Harriet's mum? And you actually made me cry at that point. I think we've shed a lot of tears since then, but kind of from that moment forward, there's two sides to your pageant side of the fact that you're there as a huge cheerleader for so many people in pageantry and pageantry itself, but also your side on the stage. So let's have a look at both sides of that journey, first of all. So let's have a look at it from on the stage. Take me from that moment of you tapping me on the shoulder. Give me some of those highlights.
Oh, it was funny. Who was I talking to? I did an interview yesterday for House of Pageantry that I think came out before this, and was actually about dyslexia, but we talked about how I did not like my height. I'm 5'11", and I did not like my height until I met Harriet. And it was, even in the Facebook group in the run up to Galaxy, I just found her story so inspiring, and it was, yeah, that was the tap on the shoulder, is I just had to tell you how inspiring your daughter had been. I didn't know how, was she 13 or 14 at the time?
I think she was 13 then. She was 14 about 4 weeks later.
Was that, I don't now, but at the time I felt a bit weird going up and speaking to a 13-year-old like that. Now, because of the amazing women I've met in pageantry, I wouldn't think twice about just going directly to them. But I just had to tell you, I think mums always like to hear that kind of thing too.
We do.
And I mean, that first Galaxy, I was an absolute disaster. Like, Tam was wrong, my outfits were wrong for pageantry and for me, and it was definitely going to be a big learning curve after that. But I learned so much about loving and accepting my body from doing that pageant, from my height with watching Harriet's story, and then actually getting to meet her and yourself, and getting up on stage I did a one piece, but it was a one piece that had lots of bits missing over the midsection, so half of my midsection was sort of showing in stripes, and I'd always been so funny about my stomach. I'm still a bit weird about it, and it was the first area I was called fat as a kid, and yeah, through the years, I know my mum always had big things about her stomach, and that definitely rubbed off. And I got up on stage with at least half of my stomach exposed, and felt incredible. It sort of, yeah, massively changed that. And I came back and competed the next year, because I unsurprisingly did not place that first year. Came back the next year and placed top 10, and there were 70 of us competing that year.
Wow.
So that was pretty awesome. Then was just going to be a fan. I love supporting other girls in it, and I love all the charity work. So I was like, even if it's not my own charity work, I can go to other people's and support other people's charity work. I'm just going to be one of those pageant fans that just goes to lots of stuff. I had a lot going on with work, and yeah, that didn't last very long, and I signed up to do 2017. Holly and Bella were very convincing when we went to I was the biggest charity fundraiser in 2016 of all.
I remember seeing you go off to the Christie, didn't you?
Yeah, it was amazing. The funny thing about that trip, though, it was the first time I'd been in a hospital since my mum had passed away. And I hadn't registered until we were walking down the corridor. And I didn't know Holly or Bella particularly well yet, and I was new to pageantry, and I'm with these two like pageant icons, trying not to cry. And eventually I managed to get out that this was the first time I'd been in the hospital since my mum had died. And it was like, oh, awkward, but it was just such an amazing. It was, yeah, I got over it pretty quickly, but managed to stop the tears by the time we actually got to the event that was held in the hospital's function room. And I think, yeah, that realising the impact the charity money had made to that place was part of it. And sort of talking to Holly and Bella about how much I'd journeyed already, and they were like, there is so much further you can go. So yeah, signed back up, got pregnant, couldn't compete. Well, chose not to. I know some people can and do, but it wasn't for me. And I suffered really bad pregnancy anxiety. So it's really good that I didn't, because I don't think I'd have got there anyway. And yeah, 2020 was my comeback year. Last time I'd competed, I'd run a blog. I'd run the Beauty Queen Diaries, and I really liked that sort of being that story sharing, information sharing kind of thing. But I'm so dyslexic, and writing blogs I find very stressful. I'll bash out the odd one now and again, but they're not for me as a whole. And I was running a podcast with my work that I was really enjoying doing. So I was like, oh, come on, let's just do this. And it's grown and blossomed, and it's helped me meet loads of other systems as well. I don't think I'd know as much about Yemi if I hadn't done the podcast. So it's definitely, the two worlds collide.
Oh, absolutely. I've learned so much this year about all the other systems since Harriet's doing the Crown Coach, because she's doing so much research into understanding the kind of the makeup of the event, what's expected, what the previous queens and everything have done. And it's actually been really good education, because prior to then it's always been very focused. And I think from one kind of respect, it's kind of a protective bubble within the pageant girl group, in a good sense, that she offers so much that we haven't had to look outside of that, which has been lovely from that point of view. But it made us realise how uneducated we were about so many other systems. I mean, so throughout the journey, so you've skipped away from your highlights here, going back to 2020. So you had a phenomenal outcome in terms of what you achieved, particularly the height of the competition that you had this year. How do you, where are you going now? I know we've just had some news. Tell us kind of where we go from placing so high to what's happening next.
What's next? So I got second runner-up, which for non-pageanty people is third. We like to make it sound better. It's true.
Almost first.
Got second runner-up, which was incredible, and actually the caliber of the women on that stage.
It was phenomenal this year.
Just so amazing to be on stage with that kind of caliber of contestant was absolutely amazing. But everything happens for a reason. I'm a very big believer in that, and a few people in the run-up, because I had worked so hard and it was visible hard work. I do like to share a lot of my journey on social media because I think people need to know what goes into it. I'm up to people if they don't want to put their lives on social media, but I'm not one of the people to hide that I'm working hard for something and then magically be like, this is how when people are like, this is how I look all the time. It's like, this is not how I look all the time. Sort of thing. That's me with my life in general. I like to do the no makeup selfie of everything personal in my life. So which is kind of hard because people can, they can see how much you wanted something, how hard you've worked for something, and people are like, how are you going to deal with it if you don't win it? And I was like, I'm a Christian, and I'm very much a belief. I do the work and I leave it with God. And if it's meant to be my year, it's meant to be my year. If it's not, it's meant to be another year, or it's meant to be a different system, or there's something else I've got to learn. And that's the amazing thing about pageantry. It's not just about the crown. The journey is so educational, so inspiring. It can lead you into amazing things like running the podcast and what has now become Pageantland as a whole, and Pageantland Fitness and the coaching bits, and like just all these different elements there, and how much we're now supporting and encouraging other people within pageantry. And that came out of me competing. I wouldn't be helping all these people if I hadn't been competing. And I was like, you put everything out there and you do the best that you can, and then afterwards you sort of evaluate which bits would I like to change and things like that. And it's funny actually, now I've signed up for Yemi, there keeps being more things coming out of the woodwork that really align with who I am as a person, and not sure if some of them are public knowledge yet, so I'm not, because some of them are new things that are coming out I think at the next internationals and stuff like that. So just in case I've been told things in secrecy without realizing it, I'm not gonna spoil people know. But yeah, there's just, it feels like the right place and the right time, and Yemi people kept being brought into my life, and I for one can definitely take a hint from upstairs, and took it. And so yeah, I couldn't do it this year. If the dates hadn't changed, I couldn't do it. I'd already committed to something that overlapped, and I don't let people down, and I didn't want to not do the other thing. Obviously COVID might stop me now, but who knows. But it was when I saw that date change, and I was like, oh, this is what you were waiting for, was it? And I do, call me a Christian nut. I'm one of those people. I have chats with God while I'm walking around the park. So he actually, whether you believe him or not, but this is when I was trying to decide if I was going to go back to competing 2016 into 2017, I was on a run at a Christian women's retreat. And I was sort of praying, do I go back? Do I go back? And I said, I'm really struggling with this. Is competing where I'm meant to be? Is there a different place I'm meant to be? I said, right, so if I'm meant to compete, can you just send me a sign? And this deer jumped out in front of me.
Oh my God.
It was like less than a metre in front, not big antler ones because I find those scary, but I can't miss this deer, but it didn't terrify me at the moment. And I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, off we go. So I'm like, yeah, I trust the signs, and I trust my conversations with him. And for other people, that could be, maybe there's a certain person that always seems to call it well or call it correctly. Maybe they want to talk to themselves. I get the most common sense talking to myself sometimes.
No, Harriet has a great believer in terms of the universe aligning things, and that very much happened for her on the way up to Miss International finals for Japan. It was so weird, literally, from people messaging her connected to Japan and all that kind of stuff, that it just happened. It wasn't related, but all these things were coming in place. And we were just like, wow, it was just, everything just felt like it was meant to be, which is quite funny, because it's kind of, if you can align this very much going back to kind of Harriet's journey, that she'd been like all very much committed actually with Galaxy, but if she'd done differently out in America, she wouldn't have gone and done Miss International, which was very much true, you know, to her, as we saw when she went off to the international side of things. And sometimes what we don't see is the greatest success, I think, is actually the stepping stone it gives us to actually where we're needing to be, which I do absolutely feel like is being for you. So next question, well, it's kind of going back to the other half of the question. So that's you on the stage, and that's where we're going next. But you off the stage, your pageant journey is just as strong, because I mean, the bouquets of flowers when Harriet's competed, the fact that you have literally travelled length and breadth of the country supporting Harriet and me with events, you are such a support for so many people. I mean, how do you fit that in? How on earth do you fit it? Oh, we're getting you crying already. Yes.
Tissues. Now I'm going to actually have to get a tissue now. I've always left the tissues the other side of the room. Although I have a new tissue box, so maybe now I can show off the new tissue box. And now I'm going to have Rudolph nose. I get a bright, so those of you listening on the podcast, I'm now crying, but I get a bright red nose when I cry, which my mum always used to find hilarious. I did not as a child. But it also gives me away, because sometimes, you know, when you can pull the tears back, my nose doesn't come back with them, it just goes bright red.
God bless you.
Glowing nose. I guess for me it's been such an important part of it. It's been that sisterhood. I was really badly bullied. I ended up going through 4 schools for different reasons. So 2 junior, 2 secondary. I was bullied at 3 of them. I was probably too young to remember the younger one, but the first one. But yeah, and from physical and emotional bullying, and I didn't trust friendships very well at all, and came into pageantry and suddenly met all these amazing women, and you say I'd sort of travel around the country to support people, but it's kind of my way of saying thank you for inspiring me and motivating me, and things as well. And yeah, I try and pack things into weekends, because with Felicity it's quite tricky to get up and do stuff, and I'd be like, right, this is the thing I really, really want to go to. Who else can I try and see or try and support? What other events are going on that I can try and make the most of the fact that I can have childcare this weekend, and put the things together. And yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know, it's just part of yeah.
Just you. It's just you being you.
Yeah, I like doing things like that.
Well, it means the world. I mean, I'd say you've been there pretty much at every single sort of high point in terms of Harriet's UK side of things. Disappointed you didn't come to Japan with us, but, you know, we'll have that discussion elsewhere.
Well, I get up at, was it really early or really late? I can't.
It was incredibly early. I think it was like a 5 a.m. start for the UK, and it was amazing, you know.
Normal start time for me, so that was. But yeah, I remembered I was watching it live, and just like screaming and crying and all that.
It was phenomenal seeing all of the different alerts coming through, like crazy early in the morning from people who would like, yeah, we've just been to McDonald's, got the breakfast, we're having like the picnics and what have you, and all screaming. and it was absolutely phenomenal. I think that's the kind of the value that people sometimes don't see from outside of pageantry. I mean, if we take Crown Camp, so was it 3-4 weeks ago that we were off there? And I think the greatest takeaway from that was the sisterhood. I mean, yes, there was so many amazing things that happened, but the friendships that were made in those just literally 2 nights, we had people crying at the door on the way out. Not just me and you. Not just me and you.
Just me.
No, we had others. But they had such a connection, and I think that is definitely something that people outside of pageantry don't actually understand, and they think it's just us going to play dress up, whatever, but it's not. It's far beyond that. It's about that celebration of each other's success and wanting to see each other, push through a boundary, gain that confidence, get over something that was holding them back. And it's not always about getting that crown. Again, if you look at your journey, in the 5-6 years that we've known you, the confidence that you've gained, and the identity I feel like that you're comfortable with, I think that is really kind of shaped over the last few years. You certainly seem, it's one of those, I think it's a great gift to actually have an understanding of yourself. And it's something that some people don't get through life. But I think for you,
I've been up, I've spoken at a number of events on health and fitness for Marks and Spencer's, and I never would have had the gumption to accept it even, let alone to sort of get in fact, I think they found me, the agency that booked the speakers found me through my social media. And I wouldn't have been posting as much on my social media if it wasn't for pageantry. So I wouldn't have even found the opportunity, let alone accepted it, if it wasn't for that. And that was, it was 2 different days in 2 different venues, and I spoke a number of times over the day. Like, how many public speakers in the sort of early 30s can say they've spoken for such a mega brand and came through pageantry? And yeah, I think there's been pageantry's been a lot of healing for me as well. Definitely healing from the bullying side of things, and hearing so many other people's stories. And obviously, ideally, I would love them to never hear of anyone else that have been bullied, but it's nice to know that you weren't the only one. And again, the same, because we put ourselves out there and we stand up for the causes that matter to us and that's important to us. Obviously, I did the Queen's Chat with Hannah Golding, and spoke about very unpleasant experience that happened to me in my, when I was 15, and I never would have had the bravery to talk about that. And I hadn't told, I think I told like 3 people in my entire life. And then I was suddenly on a video interview talking about it. And that's because of the inspiring stories that other pageant girls have shared and been vulnerable. And as soon as I started speaking about it, it started the healing process. So it's like those 2 major things: body confidence issues that I've struggled with, my height issues, my stomach, all those things have started to heal. I'm going to say started because particularly the one I talked about in the Queen's Chat with Hannah it's a long journey. And actually you're one of the few people that knew about that incident beforehand. And it was definitely, I was called to do pageantry. My life wouldn't be the same as it is now. I wouldn't have had these healing steps. So internally, I wouldn't be the person that I am. Externally, it's definitely a good motivation in the gym. I always talk about how, like, the right pageants for you don't have a specific body type, or find the system that aligns with your body type if they do. I actually think it's fine if systems do have certain body types, but don't lie about it. Like, say you're either all body types or you have a different category, like there's curve pageants and things like that. Don't be misleading. That's all I ask. It's, for me, I like that, having that deadline goal to
Yeah.
push myself harder and try a little bit harder. And it's not for me. I'm definitely strong over skinny anyway, but I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really like to get like some ab definition through, or I'd really like to have my biceps a little bit more toned this time round and things like that. But I'm a fitness professional, so I can do it in a healthy way. I always have to be very careful when I talk about anything fitness and weight and stuff, because for me, I like the weight to go up because it means my muscle mass is increased.
Well, I can relate slightly to this at the moment, but we'll save that for another podcast. So, moving on, you are a very much full-time mum. You're absolutely hands-on. You've got a business. You're doing pageants. You don't do things by half. When you say, right, I'm doing a pageant, you are all in, and that means the charity, the appearances, everything. How on earth do you manage all of that and have Pageantland podcast happening as well?
I'm secretly a vampire, so I don't sleep. Actually, the funny thing is, again, I've got PCOS. I feel like I'm just talking about all my issues at the moment. So I've got PCOS, so I really need sleep. My PCOS symptoms will flare up a lot more if I consistently don't sleep. Obviously at Crown Camp, I think I got 5.5 hours total over the 2 nights. But
yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, I can't sustain that for more than like 2 nights, particularly at this stage of my life with a kid and things. But it's a lot of time management, and that's what's fed into my platform, because I do get that a lot. They're like, why do you do it? They ask that too. How do you do it? How do you actually do it? And I was like, well, actually, I'm an expert in time management strategies. I've had a business teaching them. I used to run 60 weddings and events a year, 60 weddings plus events a year when I was a wedding coordinator. And you've got to be organized. And then it was just me surviving, like eating and drinking and working. Those were the only 2 things I needed to do. And now I've got the other bits. There is a team behind it. Could I do it without a really awesome supportive partner? No. Could I do it? We have a lady called Hannah who has her 2 afternoons a week. Could I do it without Hannah? No. Would I try? Probably. But I only do the things that matter to me, and that sounds really selfish, but some of the things, it's just worked out quite well that some of the things that really matter to me are non-selfish things, like the charity work, like going and supporting other people. They really matter to me, and that's why I do them, and that's why I find the space to do them. I'm very much a believer in decluttering out the things that don't align with you and aren't right for you. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. And you might even be taking that opportunity away from someone else. Mm-hmm. So I am a public speaker, and I'm very passionate about the different topics that I do talk on, the Goal Getters, which is also my platform, anything health and fitness related you're going to get me talking about. And then I've talked about issues with my mental health and bullying and things like that. But if someone came up to me and said, oh, we'd love you to come and do a talk on wedding planning. Now, I could quite happily fill a talk on wedding planning, but I wouldn't want to. And I'd have to say no. But they then might go to someone who absolutely is obsessed with weddings, like Charlotte Clemmy. And if I'd said yes to doing something I didn't want to do, she might not have had the chance, like, or someone else. So I always try and make sure I forward it on to the person. If I'm given an opportunity that's not in line with me, to forward it on to the person that I do think is in line with. And sometimes I feel like that's why I was asked. I was asked because I can make that connection. I wasn't asked because I was meant to do it. So say no a lot. That's how you fit it all in. You say no a lot, and find where that.
I think it's really healthy.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's really, really healthy to do that. And I think it's something that a lot of girls actually think in pageantry should learn how to do. And it's something that it took a long time for Harriet to learn to say no, because she wanted to help as many people as possible. But often the trick with these things is to put your energy into creating a team get the process, create the team, get other people to do it, which is kind of next step in terms of the Pageantland podcast. One of the recent sort of big changes that you've made there is that you've actually now brought in a team on it. So tell us all about that.
So the team came out of my runs during lockdown. I decided I was going to run every day in lockdown, although there was no definitive end. So I hit 104 runs in 104 days. And it was very meditative. And although, like many people, my mental health in lockdown sucked, it kept me from falling off the edge. And one of the things that kept coming up was that I didn't feel like I could deliver everything that I wanted Pageantland to deliver on my own. And yes, some of that is from a physical work volume side of things, but also we want it to represent, I need to talk to it as better, we now, we wanted it to represent the pageant community in the UK. We are very UK focused. We wanted to represent as a whole. And I can't do that on my own. I don't know enough systems. I still feel myself as a newbie, but apparently I'm not. But there's obviously different generations of newbie and not newbie in pageantry. So we put a shout out on social media to say who was interested. And then I spoke to a few people and said, any names of people that you think would spring to mind that would like this project? And some of the people that have come in actually had sort of things that they were thinking of doing or had started looking at doing that really align well with what we want to do. So they're like, we'll just come in and bring it under the umbrella and do it together. And it's really starting to come together nicely. The day of recording this was our first Queen's Table, which is a sort of spoof name on Chef's Table, because you are what you eat. So we are going to be doing video interviews, but where the person we're interviewing is cooking or baking. So we had Rachel on today, who was like decorating up one of her amazing cakes, who does cupcakes on the Time, is the business.
Yeah, she just lives up the road, so I'm quite disappointed that we haven't had the cake delivered, to be honest. But, you know.
It's like covered in Oreo cookies and things.
Honestly, she's just incredible.
That's so good. But so Felicia, who's one of the members of the team, she did that interview, and she's going to do the next few, and then we'll jump in and different people will do some of the interviews. Maya's going to be doing more content for videos and for the YouTube channel, and once we're sort of more settled into it and things. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background at the moment with the website development and what the content for the newsletter and things. That's like, it's a lot of legwork type stuff. And infrastructure type stuff. It's really hard because I'm the sort of person, I want to announce it all now, be like, this is coming and this is coming, and I've sort of touched on a few things, and we've got some amazing plans for like in-person events next year, but I'm like trying to hold back, like, just in case things don't happen or timelines, like we go into full lockdown again, I lose all my childcare, the website will not be up by the end of this year. So I'm kind of hoping it is.
Yeah, no, well, I still haven't caught up from the news from speaking to you earlier. I'm going to have a look and see what the impacts are going to be on our lives. So there'll be many messages sent later after this, no doubt. So one of the main jobs that you have in life there, Mum, again, the moment when you were on stage, it was just beautiful. We were quite near the stage, you came on, and little Felicity's runs away from her dad and stands in front of me because it's a better view, and I just said, are you a real princess? And she nodded, yes I am, so's my mum, and started cheering for you. How amazing. Yes, go on, cry. But no, she absolutely loves and embraces pageantry already herself. And am I right? She's won.
She's got all the crowns. You've frozen a little bit there. I hope you've still got me. Ooh. Have you got me back?
I have got you down. You did freeze as well there.
Yeah, the momentary freeze. So she won her first pageant that she did. She did a charity pageant in Oh, now I'm completely lost. I want to say October, but I might be completely making that up. In October last year. She was meant to do another charity pageant in April and it didn't happen. So I signed her up for one that was meant to be August. And it was for charity. And I was like, here, have my money. It's fine. My daughter's the right age category for this one. I didn't actually read what it was because I thought, well, if we can't make it, it's not a huge amount of money and it's going to a great cause. Then it was done on photos, so it's quite nice because hers have been judged. She got second runner-up, so we've both been second runner-ups this year. She still got a mega crown for it. It's like, I wasn't expecting anything to arrive for second runner-up, and this like massive crown has turned up, which was brilliant. She's got a crown for just being awesome, which you and Harriet sent her. What's the other? Oh, she got a contestant. So the one she came second runner-up, she got a contestant's crown for. So she's already got 4 crowns. She's doing well.
So do you hope that she continues? I know you're very much all about allowing her to have her own identity and everything like that. What's your plans in terms of encouraging her for being part of pageantry?
I think she sees my enthusiasm for it because she loves to exercise. I mean, some of her exercises, I'm using inverted commas here for those that can't see the video. But I'm so excited about exercising. Like when Mummy's going off to the gym, Mummy's very happy. So she's like, Mummy, I'm going to do a squat. Let me show you your squat. Let me show you the squat. I'm going to do stretching. She did stretching with me today. It involved her rolling around on top of my back while I was trying to stretch, which is quite good because it increased the stretch. But sometimes she just does get in the way. But she sees exercising as exciting and fun and learning to do new things with our bodies. And I've been trying to get the box split against a wall. And she's like, now my turn, Mummy. Now's my turn. How am I doing? I think I've got better. And they pick up off these sort of phrases and things. So I'm very careful to use like positive language around her and talk about my body positively. She's very tall and she's already looking like she will be very tall. So I very much talk about our lovely long legs. And aren't we lucky to have such lovely long legs? Because I do not doubt at some point some nasty kid at school will say something horrid about her being tall. And I want her to turn around and go, no, I've got lovely long legs, like my mummy.
Absolutely. No, positive programming with children is a huge thing. It's something that I've always done with my 2 to try and always just encourage, because I think just always having that positive point of view and outlook, and it doesn't mean that you're ignoring the negative stuff. It's just a case, well, if you can't fix the negative stuff, what's the point of sending energy in that direction?
She knows my mummy lives in heaven because she died and she can't be with us, but every time we see a white feather, that means Granny in heaven is saying hello. And she knows that lockdown was because there are poorly people and we have to be a bit careful. And she, even down to just hitting that point now, because she's at the age where she goes into some things without me, particularly with the COVID restrictions, like she goes into little gym without me and she's swimming lesson. I always book a swim lane. Well, I say always, we've only had 1 lesson so far. But she goes in the pool without me now, whereas I used to be going in with her. But she knows if someone touches her and she does not want to be touched, that she screams and shouts no as loud as she can. That is the one time you're allowed outdoor voice inside. Like that's when you use big outdoor voice. Like she knows that. But even if it's not in a dodgy way, it's her body. If some little kid wants to hold her hand and she's not interested, then she said no. And she's like, no, you back off. I do not want to hold your hand because I am not being forced into hand holding.
No, it's so good, and I can see, regardless of whether she's competing or not, she absolutely enjoys being there and around it, and obviously she loves the dresses as well. She's always in awe of the dresses, which is so lovely to see.
She always wants to go and tell people. She'll say, Mummy, I really like their dress. Can I go and tell them? And we'll go and she did that. The very first pageant we went to was the one she competed at. She'd never seen these dresses. And we're queuing to go on the little stage. And she turned around to the sort of lady behind us, who must have been in her 20s, like fully grown woman, that my daughter nearly brought to tears by going, your dress is so beautiful. And she was what, 2? Yeah, 2 and a bit then. I was like, good.
Oh, that is just so lovely.
And to
No,
accept-
that it's just about building people up.
so I've never taught her to give compliments, but like I haven't actively anti giving compliments. But what I did teach her was to accept them. So I will still, in the same way that parents will say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they gave you a toy, say thank you." If someone gives her a compliment, I am straight on it. She's pretty good. She normally says thank you. And they'll be like, "Thank you for what?" She said, "Well, you gave me a compliment, so I'm saying thank you." She'll actually tell them why she said thank you. And it was that.
Oh, how amazing.
I think it's that that's led into her being this child that loves to give compliments. "You've got really pretty hair. I like your shoes. Your car's very shiny." Like, everywhere we go.
It sounds like a perfect way to be. Just bring some sunshine, leaving glitter wherever she goes. That's what you need to do. Leave the smiles.
Yeah, she definitely likes to spot the pretty and the beautiful in anything.
Oh, that sounds like a beautiful way to be. Coming back to the pageant and podcast and everything. So obviously you've got you've got this team in place now. What's the plan? 2020. Obviously we've got a few things that's kind of changed. Good old COVID's put brakes on so much in pageantry. But and I know you've got lots of secret things coming. But what's the kind of the big milestones you can share or talk vaguely about?
Well, we did cross a massive milestone this week. I bought a selfie frame.
I did see a picture of a certain little lady holding it.
Practicing with it. So we have a selfie frame. I think, although there's lots of things I would have liked to have done, like I wanted to do a lot of in face-to-face podcast episodes. I bought 2 podcast mics, still haven't worked out how to connect them both properly through my laptop. I said I was going to do it in lockdown. It hasn't happened. It's because it hasn't gone on the official to-do list, and if it doesn't get written down with me, it doesn't happen. But yeah, I wanted to travel and do some more face-to-face and video them at the same time, sort of setups, and haven't been able to do that. I would have liked to have started the plans we've got for events, would have lovely to have started those this year, because they're lots of small and it's going to take a while to build that up to what it's going to be. So it's, yeah, those things have been delayed and will hopefully start a bit more next year. But it's been really nice because actually we've taken time to think through ideas, and I think there's certain things we would have started doing that because of COVID and we've delayed them, we've tweaked them or we scrapped them, and we've gone, no, this isn't quite in line with us, this isn't quite what we want to be doing. Our products have come out. That was very exciting. We want to make this lasting, and that's one of the things that people forget. Just to host a website costs money, and I put a lot of time in, and obviously I don't charge for my time doing it, but there are still physical costs. The banners, the pop-up banners that we're getting, the selfie frames that we're getting, they all cost money. We want to be able to sponsor national title holders going to internationals. That costs money. Even if my laptop breaks, that costs money. So the products have a little bit of profit in them that's hopefully going to help us maintain, that's going to pay for the hosting and things like that, because we didn't got some services like I have the 2 coaching programs that aren't like any other coaching. One filters you into other coaches, the other one is just platform development from like a business strategy point of view, and that is all money to keep it going. So I think that was quite key for us to make sure that we were building a foundation, be it from an admin point of view, from a financial point of view, that this can stand the test of time, that 10 years time, if I'm not able to keep being part of it, that someone else can come in, and that there's an infrastructure there that makes it viable and long lasting. We want it to we're creating like a legacy of something that unites the UK pageant industry, and that takes time, and I get frustrated. I want to do it all now, but I can't. Don't have time, all the finances. Yeah, if someone wants to drop me some sort of £1 million investment to get this all going now, that'd be ace. But failing that, we're just going to build it up slowly over time, and it's, I think with COVID and with our other time restrictions, obviously we've got people that are national title holders in the team, that might go to international and place internationals, I'm sure they will, and other people that aren't competing, and when they start competing they might have less time, so we're always very sure, we're trying to make it very team friendly, to manage our time, and that might mean adjusting what we do when as well. I said when everyone joined the team, I don't want anyone to ever feel if they've got a really busy, tricky month that they have to pull out. I want them to feel like they can comfortably say, life's a lot right now, and we'll go, right, we usually do this, this and this, I can take this on, so and so's going to do that bit, and we've got you covered for the month, and let us know if you need a few more weeks, or if actually things pick up after a week and you want to take your things back, or whatever it is. And we've already seem to have got a really honest and open relationship within the group, and a lot of us didn't know each other at all, if very well. Like, I think I had Kat and Maya, I may have had them as friends on Facebook, and we'd swapped the odd message, but that was about it, to the point where I didn't know that Maya and Kat were mum and daughter. that's how little we knew about each other. So people have been like, oh, you're like all friends running it. I was like, well, we weren't, we are now. And that's been really nice, because we bring in different perspectives, but we're also very good at holding each other accountable, because we're trying not to just represent one system or one makeup artist or one whatever. We all come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different favourite suppliers and things like that. So that we're able to try and represent the industry more as a whole. Yeah, that's it's kind of, I think website's the next big thing, trying to get the website finished. But that's a lot of brand awareness, because we need the systems to step forward and complete their information. Having a good system database and a good supplier database is quite key for me, because I think it can be quite tricky to go around and find all the different options and things. So
oh, absolutely, because we had a pageant diary running with the Pageant network for a while. COVID's just blown a great big hole in it, because it's just literally, well, everything we're just now assuming is pretty much cancelled. We'd moved everything forward, but now it's all pretty much out the window. But it is great to have a central source, and it just makes it a lot easier for people to be able to update, communicate, and I hope it also will encourage more attendance, because if you're aware of it, you've got more chance, because sometimes you'll be like, oh, if we'd known, we would have gone. Yeah. And sometimes you just don't get, and particularly on Harriet's social media, she gets tagged on something like 400 things a day. You can imagine that notifications, we've got like a shed work phone thing, and the battery dies constantly just due to the sheer volume. So having that reference point would just be phenomenal, would be absolutely a huge help, I think, for a lot of people, and particularly people who are active title holders, who want to be seen at events, who want to go and meet other people, because it's really quite a key role that they have to encourage kind of the next generation coming through from that point of view. So it's great to actually have them there and participating. So I'm excited for this, very, very excited. Feel free to send me any beta testing.
It's a really hard thing to build up, because you need that brand credibility, and I need people to understand that we are in this for a long haul. It's worth investing that. I mean, I think the systems form maybe is about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to fill out, but they get their own page within the website as well as being listed in the databases. The suppliers, I'm not quite sure, I haven't built that bit of the website, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to break down. That one's a 5-minute form, if that. But it's getting people, I know a couple of people said when they got our original email that they get similar emails from a big American website that then further down the document try and charge them £500 for the privilege, or $500. Yeah. Also, and so they'd sidelined our message thinking it was another one of those, and I was like, no, it's free. please
Yeah.
do it. And they've gone back and done it. But it's, getting people to understand that we're here for the long haul. The podcast is in its 4th season now. We've been over a year, and people getting that it's here. Like this, it's actually part of this that made me think about not competing anymore, so that I just head that up, because I don't want it to be, I know a lot of contestants run projects like this while they're competing for title, and then they don't get the title and they stop it, or they do and they use it in the run up to internationals and then they stop it, and it's like, no, this is a long term planned strategy. It's worth investing that 10 minutes as a director to go and fill out that form and put that information up on there. We are investing in paid advertisement to like get this out to girls that aren't in the pageant industry yet and grow the industry. That is our mission, to grow the industry and support the contestants within it. We want to get to a point with the podcast where we have more sort of sponsors and people putting adverts in, and we're then able to use that money to help the girls' national title holders go to internationals. There's not the support in the UK.
Absolutely not. Tell me about it. I mean, the girls in Japan, they literally, the level of sponsors, they were all flying in first class. They had entourages, they had a full-time, for a 3-week period, they had wardrobe, hair and makeup artists there for them doing all of it. Whereas poor Harriet had to push in 7 cases all on her own on a train, literally running down a street, moving a case, going back, getting the next one, and so on, like a little train herself. And it's a huge gap. So to be able to actually have support for the international, and even just from a media point of view, because as you're aware, we tried to do a bit behind the scenes to try and get people to get behind the girls who are off for internationals last year. And I do think it worked. I think we definitely had a bit of a groundswell in terms of showing that the UK was a stronger sash than what people thought it was. But we've got so far to go. So I do think having the education, having this central part, to be able to communicate this, that look, we've got a girl, she's on the ground in Philippines doing this, we need to get behind her, she's got a vote going on, that kind of stuff. Absolutely, it's such a gap.
There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of elements. It was very funny when I did my sales pitch to the women that were interested in being part of the team, and I was like, please be aware that some of the things I'm going to go through are 10-year plan-esque things. Like, don't think we're going to do this all by the end of the year. Don't be put off by how much there is already on the list. It's a long-term plan and strategy to like build this up. I want it to be financially self-sustaining. It's not designed to be financially profitable, but financially self-sustaining, and maybe one day, 10 years time, we will get to the point where we need to have a full-time admin person on the books and things like that, and great. But it's at the moment it's just a lot of hard graft from the 7 of us instead. Dreams, we can dream.
It's all good. It's for good reason. And without dreams, where would we be?
Yes, exactly.
So I'm kind of coming towards the end here in terms of my questions. I think you've just done a live tonight to announce in terms of your platform, what you're going to be doing moving forward at the moment. Do you want to just share with us a little bit more detail on that? Just as a little, I'm sure you'll be sharing more detail, but let's have a sneak peek at it.
We've got, so yesterday I announced that I was doing Emmy. Today I announced my platform, and actually tomorrow I'll announce my charity, and by the time this goes out, that will be official as well. So that was one of the big things that drew me to Yemi, is they're very keen on the platform and choosing a charity that's connected to you as well. I've already got a couple of charity events planned with like sort of the gap of who it was for, because I wasn't like officially announcing it and didn't really know which system I could do yet. So Goal Getters is my platform, which is helping women who feel stuck achieve their goals with manageable steps and skills to take them from dream to reality. And that comes from my years as everything from being a wedding planner, from being a personal trainer and instructor, and I used to teach those skills with another business of mine that I stopped to donate more time to pageantry. It is feel like I'm donating my time, dedicating more of my time to pageantry. And so it's something I've got expertise in, but it's also something I'm very passionate about, and it means that I can help other women if they want to set up a big thing like this. I can go through the strategies and skills, I can go through the time management, I can go through the having to say no, the getting rid of toxic people, the owning yourself, because there is basically a skill set with whatever your goal is in whatever industry or arena that will benefit everyone. So those are the skills that we're going to be doing, and I'm building it up to be on social media support, but have an actual online course. So I'll probably host it on YouTube to start with. There are some really good paid platforms for courses, and I need to see if I'm in a financial place to be able to sort of buy one of those. But it'll be like an online course that's free, where women will be able to go and learn these skills and take their dreams that we need their dreams through to reality. And then charity is going to be Samaritans. And I've struggled.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, I've struggled with my mental health. I think the first like big thing I remember was when I was 14, and I'm gonna have to psych myself up for the video tomorrow, because I really want people to understand why this is an important one to me. And unfortunately, the best way of doing that is to talk about my mental health journey. So tomorrow's going to be hard. I'm going to do it after the gym, because then I'm in a good mood. I don't think at the time I even registered it as mental health. There were certain like peaks, like when I did courses of Roaccutane, that really spikes any signs of depression and has really strong links to depression. So please use it as a last resort doing Roaccutane, because it has some hideous side effects. It's got like the highest rate of suicide of any medication, I believe, or it's definitely up there if not the highest. So yeah, the sort of journey through just general mental health, and then the spikes with certain things, like when I went through Roaccutane and losing mum, and during lockdown I've particularly struggled. And one of the things that I've has been a massive saving grace for me in lockdown has been my phone calls. As being able to pick up the phone and have a chat with someone. And looking back, I realised actually that got me through a lot with mum. And it wouldn't be even to talk about mum or talk about the fact that she passed away, but it was to be able to pick up the phone and talk gibberish. Was quite often that lift that I needed to get me out of that slump. And sort of I was trying to think about which charity I wanted to support, and I was like, I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for some of the phone calls that I've had through my life, like to be able to know that there's someone I can pick the phone up to. And I was like, what if I didn't have anyone to phone? And that was my like final seal the deal. This is definitely the charity I'm going for. I've got a friend that volunteers for them as well, so I'm hoping I can get her on to talk about her experience from the other side of it, obviously without talking about any of the confidential bits, but her to try and understand the charity and things a bit more. But it's, yeah, I think so many of us have struggled with mental health. It's either flared up old wounds, or people that have never struggled with it or knowingly struggled with it have struggled during lockdown. Now's like a massive time to be investing in it. And for me, it's kind of like there isn't mental and physical health. It's also kind of one big ball. People joked about, oh, we don't need the gyms to reopen, the pubs are kind of more important. And I found that really upsetting, because for me, when the gym shut, it was like I had therapy 6 days a week and someone took it away. In fact, I was 8 sessions a week over 6 days in the run up to Galaxy. And you imagine if someone had that amount, if someone was having that amount of therapy, and I'd be 2+ hours in a sessions, that's a lot of therapy to steal from someone. to take away. And that for me was losing the gym. I lost that. So it's, it took me a while to really register how important that time had been to me. And obviously as my mental health was dipping through lockdown, it became more and more obvious.
No, it is such an important aspect. But I see it in Harriet, you know, that she absolutely loves, particularly if she's stressed, and the first thing she loves to do, go to the gym, work it out, earphones in. She gets, generally she'll watch a pageant. I think she's watched every single pageant that's available all on YouTube for about the last 30 years. But she'll just go and, you know, do some research and just go and work it out. And she loves it, comes back, feels refreshed, refocused, and ready to get back on with whatever she's doing. And, you know, it is really good from that. I can hardly move, but certainly felt good when I left though.
Yeah, it's funny, it's one of those things, and it's finding the exercise that works for you. Because for me, if I'm particularly in a bad mood, I'm going to be deadlifting, and I'm likely to, I've got some hideous calluses at the moment, but I'm likely to gain a couple of calluses and cut and rip a few off during the session, and yeah, it's a blood, sweat and tears session if I'm in a real bad mood. But I've cried in the gym, a lot after Mum passed away. That would be I'd go and sit on the bike or on the cross trainer after the weight session and just have a bit of a sob, and they got used to me doing it in there.
Just sweating out my eyes, I'm fine.
Yeah. It was a much healthier way of dealing with it than it could have been, so that's fine.
No, absolutely.
Pageant in the gym, they've definitely been my saving graces. But so yeah, hopefully, yeah, I can make a bit of an impact with the Samaritans, and I've already done, because I did the digital 3 peaks, I've already raised £175 before I've even announced the charity, which is nice. And in some way, shape or form, I will be climbing 3 mountains over that weekend in September, which will have passed by the time this goes out. So, but it's in a week and a half I was meant to be doing the 3 peaks, and I'll be very surprised if it happens with the company now. But I have backup plans. It might involve the same mountain 3 times. I think I might.
I know what you're like. I'm sure you will smash whatever you do, my darling.
It's happening. There will be 3 mountains, might be the same one, but they will be climbed over that weekend somehow.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I just want to kind of wrap things up too, in the sense of saying a huge thank you from everyone within pageantry for what you actually bring to it. Not just the Pageantland podcast, which is a huge support for so many, whether it's people who are wanting to look at getting into pageantry, people who are wanting to up their game, people wanting to understanding kind of what more they can get from it, and those that just love pageants in general, and just particularly during lockdown, feel connected to it. So from the Pageantland podcast side of things, huge congratulations. It got to 100 episodes. You should be so proud of yourself. But also a huge thank you for all the support that you give people within pageantry. You are such a positive source, and I just love the way that you do thoroughly embrace the whole ideal of celebrating other people's success. And I wish you every bit of success yourself as you continue, my darling.
That tissue's all messy now.
For those listening, she's in bits. The nose is getting redder.
It's even worse in real life, but I think the ring light just washes me out a little bit. So it's more like a fuchsia today, but in the mirror, I look like Rudolph.
No, but sincerely, thank you so much, my darling.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. To be honest, it's been an absolute pleasure hosting the podcast and interviewing everyone that I've got to interview, and today being interviewed. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I was so touched that you were so excited to do it as well. Thank you for every guest, for every listener, for every share, for every like, we've got some really beautiful reviews as well. So all of it, it's not why I do it. I do it to get awesome stuff into your ears and hopefully help, but it's really nice to see and hear and all that as well. So thank you so much, and here's to episode 200.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining me today. I value and appreciate your time so much. It's wonderful you've given some of it to this episode. Please rock on over to our Facebook or Instagram and share your thoughts, and I would love you to give this episode a share while you're there. For any specific links, check the show notes or rock on over to our website, pageantlandpodcast.com, for more information about the podcast or how you can be a guest on a future episode. Have an amazing day, and remember, you sparkle your brightest when you're being yourself. See you soon.